Hi there, Jessie Medina here. I'm super excited to be here one more time with you. And today I want to talk about time saving and time management hacks. So, with all that's happening and us being at home, it can be a little bit more difficult to stay productive. But let me tell you this, even before all this happened and I was working from home, I was using this last year when I had a lot on my plate, a lot of projects. I started writing my book. I started doing I was about to open Femex quarters. I had all these things happening, and I used this technique. There are three techniques that can save you so much time in a day. It can save you 2 to 3 hours of work, and it helps you stay really productive. And then that way you have the rest of the day to be with your kids, to enjoy your time at home, to watch Netflix, to eat, to cook, to clean, whatever it is that you want to do. So, or even TikTok videos. So without further ado, here are the three things that you can do to save time. You can do one of them or two. I don't know about three, but you could apply two if you'd like. We did this on our virtual call. We were doing a virtual co-working, and all of the people that attended said that they had never heard of these before. So I thought I'll make a shorter video describing them and sharing them with you so you can apply them to your workday. So the first one is time blocking. And if you haven't heard of time blocking, essentially what it is you save a chunk of time to focus on one thing and one thing only. What happens is our brain is actually not designed to multitask. There's actually no such thing as multitask. Science shows that anytime that you're doing one thing, you're really not paying attention to the other thing. So there's no way that you can actually do two things simultaneously and give it your full attention. You can switch back and forth, but you will like lose attention. Something will suffer. So um, also, I read that like if I'm doing something right now and I switch, I get a phone call, somebody comes in, I want to check my email, it actually takes 15 minutes or so to go back to really being focused on the task that I was performing. So that means that if you are jumping from thing to thing, and let's say you're trying to do 10 things a day, that's 150 minutes in between each task that you're going to be wasting. Okay, so 150 minutes is over 2 hours of time that you're wasting, almost 3 hours of your day. So just with that simple math, you can see why this can save you so much time. The reason why you want to get into deep work, which is like a focus area where you're really just focused on one task, is because you'll do it better. You actually do a good job at it. You'll actually be focused and creative. And so these are the three things that can help. So time blocks, again, it's you focus on one thing for like in 25 minutes increments, but you want to do it for like 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, where you're like actually, spending quite a bit of time in that task. For example, I could say every morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm going to write, or it could even be earlier, right? Because that's a creative task. You want to do the creative things in the morning because that's when your brain is the most creative, the most rested. So anyway, so let's say from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to write, and that's it. You're not going to have your phone on you. You're not going to have any notifications. You're not going to be checking emails. You're not going to be doing anything else but write. Then you could say, well, you know what, from 10 to 12 I'm going to create my content, my social media content, or whatever it may be. So then you're going to do that and only that. And this is a beautiful thing because, again, you're focusing and you're being productive and you're really giving your best because your brain is actually working on that one thing only. Okay, so the second thing is, so that's time blocking. The second thing is day theming. So basically you give each day a theme. You definitely want to do this if you have multiple projects, big projects, or multiple brands. Like in my case, I have multiple brands. I have my podcast, I have my summit, I have Femex Quarter, so Femex Summit, Femex Podcast. Even though these are all the same brand, they're completely different. So the content for each one is different, the tactics are different, the marketing is different, the messaging is different. Because they are all so different, for me, it's really helpful to do it on different days. Because if I'm doing a post for the podcast, and then 10 minutes later, I have to go and reply to emails at Femex Quarters, and then 20 minutes later, I have to go and plan the summit, it really becomes a mess. And this is how we forget things, and things get lost in translation, and you forget to reply to people and whatnot. So I'm doing this one right now. I'm focusing on this one. Like I said, before last year, I was using a lot the time blocks. this year and this week, I'm definitely focusing on the day themes, because I have a day where I do everything for that one, for each one brand that I have, and that way I can dedicate myself to it. Anything that I'm doing is related to it, so therefore I can just like give it my all. I can be using the right voice, the right attitude, energy, whatever it may be. Now, having said that, you can still check emails daily, because obviously we have to. So what I do is I dedicate a portion of time each morning, at once in the morning, once in the afternoon, late afternoon, to check emails, and that's it. I dedicate an hour, so I save an hour to, look at my emails in the morning, reply to what's essential, and then move on. Once the hour is over, hopefully I, prioritize well, and I reply to everything that was essential, because then I'm moving on to the next thing, and whatever didn't get done will have to happen in the second batch of email replying, which is happening at 2 p.m. for me. So at 2 p.m. I will do the second batch, and for an hour I'll check emails and do whatever it may be. And that way I make sure that I don't get distracted or sidetracked or start replying to random emails that don't need replying, because we all know there's random little things that try to like steal our attention away all the time. So that's day theming. Now the third one is task batching. Sorry, like all these are like a tongue tying thing. But task batching is when you do the same task for different things at once. So to give you an example, I told you I have let's say these three brands: Femex Podcast, Femex Summit, Femex Quarters. Okay, instead of taking one day for each, I say on Mondays I'm going to create, not on Monday, sorry, from like 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm going to create content for all of these brands. And so I know that I'm just on like my scheduler. I'm like pulling up pictures, pulling up graphics, writing the copy, whatever it may be, to create content for those things. Then from like, let's say I have lunch from 12 to 1, and then from 1 to 3, I'm going to work on the marketing strategies and the email marketing for the week for like all of these things. So then like I'm on, say, MailChimp, doing the email campaigns for all three of those things, but I'm doing the task. So the task is the same. So I'm batching the tasks. I'm saying, my first task is social media for anything that I may have social media for. Second task is email marketing for anything that I have email marketing for. Third task is like accounting or receipts or admin, whatever it may be. So that's the third one. This one is not my favorite because, again, I have too many brands. But if you have one brand especially, and you can say that would be so helpful, because then every day you'll do that. What happens with this one is that you do all these things every day. Instead of like doing the day themes, or the time blocks, you're like every day you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Now you can combine them as well. So you can combine time blocking and day theming, for example. So you can say, okay, on Mondays, I'm going to work on, Femex Quarters. But these 2 to 3 hours, I'm going to do this. This 2 to 3 hours, I'm going to do that. So you're still time blocking each day, which also I do. So therefore, you're like saving a lot of time. You're shaving off a lot of time. This is one of the reasons why I believe in working part-time, because technically speaking, our brain is not designed to really, really work and focus straight for 8 hours. Our brain actually is not designed to do that, and this is why productivity levels are lower among people that have to work long hours. Even though you may be there at work for 10 hours, your brain, like when you actually start subtracting all the times that you got distracted, all the times that your brain was just wondering about whatever, all the time that you maybe spend on social media, next thing you know, you're actually working for about 4 hours anyway. So why even bother to waste like half of your life, working for 8 hours when you're not really working? You could have been 4 hours extra with your family at home. So even in the culture that I'm trying to bring into my company is that culture of, hey, I want you to work for 4 hours because I want you to go home. I want you to spend time with your family. I want you to like have fun. I want you to go to the gym and all these other things. This is a lifestyle, people. And this is a lifestyle that's been brought on by millennials, which I'm a millennial and I'm really proud of it. And I recommend, if you're business owners, especially if you have employees, that you actually hire people part-time. And this doesn't mean that you have to pay them part-time. It doesn't mean that you only will pay part-time. If you have someone on salary, that's great. Still let them work maybe 6 hours a day. Why? Because they are going to be more productive that way. So this is not about the pay, but this is about the time that they're actually in. They're going to get more done because they know that they only have 4 to 6 hours at work. So they're going to get things done easier. In my case, also, if you have meetings and stuff, again, I do have those things in between the chunks, right? So I could have from 9 to 10 emails, from 10 to 11 meeting, whatever the meeting may be each week, right? Like a team meeting on Mondays or Wednesdays, it could be, admin, whatever. But you have these smaller chunks of time to do admin work. But most of the time, you want to make sure that you're actually creating, you're actually shipping, you're actually putting out something. Because this is what happens is we spend too much time on admin things. We spend too much time replying to emails, to reading things, cleaning our inboxes, and all these things are actually not productive. So if you apply these three, or one of these three tactics, or two, you will actually be more productive, and you will actually have more time to do the things that you love to do besides work, like read a book, go out, go for a walk, hang out with your kids, whatever it may be. Also, what happens is the quality becomes better because now you're not just like trying to put in all these hours just to put in these hours. Busy work is not productive work necessarily. So you have to make sure that you are focusing. Anyway, I'm past the 10 minutes. I want to keep this under 10 minutes, so I'm going to leave you with this. You can always Google these things and learn more about it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I'm just really, really, really excited to hear from you if this worked for you. Tell me which ones you're applying on the comments, and make sure you follow this, subscribe. Just stay connected with me. I love hearing from you. Thank you for listening. Until next time, besos.